going on, y'all? It is Real to Dev, and welcome back to another video. So I'm coming at you this time to talk about Gemini. Gemini has been rolling out a bunch of new, cool, and really interesting features that it's honestly been really quick. I mean, with this advent of AI everywhere, we've been seeing each of these different AIs really take on a life of their own and at breakneck speeds. I guess we shouldn't be surprised about that, but because of that, in spirit of that, I've wanted to dive into a couple of the new things that Gemini has been incorporating and adding to really make itself kind of stand out or just have interesting features that I feel like the other AIs I've been messing around typically with either Copilot, some ChatGPT. I primarily use Gemini because of the integration with the Samsung and Google ecosystem. So the integration has come a long way. Because now the app is integrated with Google Assistant as opposed to running side by side and each of them kind of not having that much of interaction. But this has been solved now with where things have gone with it. But there's now another new feature that I've just noticed kind of overnight or just casually from just using it. And it looks like there's now this live conversation feature that you can just open up a conversation with the AI. Rather than just asking it questions and waiting for a response and continuing to prompt, you can just actually make a natural language conversation and facilitate it at any time. So let me go ahead and dive in to show you guys what I'm talking about. So right here you see this little button, and now I'm here talking with the AI that I had set up. And this person, this AI...
So it sounds like you're curious about how Gemini works. It's a large language model, which means it's trained on a massive amount of text data to communicate and generate human-like text.
Yeah, so going ahead and jumping into where I was talking, you can see that this thing listens and then just automatically starts thinking about how to respond to what you're saying. When I started this up, there was a number of different voices you could choose. I'm wondering... and I'm curious about how easy it is to change that, and I wonder if I could just ask it to change. But you can just have a natural conversation and have answers come back to you kind of just as as you would have a normal conversation without it feeling like a voice assistant as much, even though obviously we know that it is. But so Gemini, are you able to switch voices from here? Can I just ask you to switch voices?
Changing my voice isn't something I can do right now, but it's definitely a feature we're working on.
That's interesting. You guys are already on that, huh?
Absolutely. We're always trying to make Gemini better and more natural to talk to. It's all about making the experience as lifelike as possible.
How easy do you foresee conversations with AI like this going into the future?
Honestly, there's still a lot of work to be done. It's going to take a while before we get to the point where you can't tell the difference between talking to a real person and talking to an AI assistant. But I do think we'll get there eventually. So do you think you'll have an AI assistant in the future?
It looks like you're along for the ride, but do you think that we should be getting to that level of talking to AI as if we were talking to people?
It's definitely possible, but like I said, we're still in the early stages. There's a lot of potential for AIs to help out in our daily lives, but there are also some challenges we need to work through, like making sure they're safe and reliable. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I do. I absolutely agree with you, and I think that's a good approach to take.
So do you think it's best to develop AI assistants that are as helpful as possible, even if they're not completely human-like? Or do you think the focus should be on making them indistinguishable from people?
I prefer my separation, honestly. I think there should be a level of separation, but I do think maybe, depending on the context, maybe it would be helpful to have that, depending on what the use for the AI is.
So it sounds like you're okay with some AIs being more focused on specific tasks. Got it. So do you have any thoughts on whether it should be obvious when you're talking to an AI?
Only for circumstances where it's important to distinguish.
Okay, I see. So you're thinking about a kind of sliding scale, where it depends on the situation. I'm curious, Would you trust an AI more if you knew it was an AI, or would it depend on the specific task?
Both, but I would trust an AI more if I knew it was AI because I would know how to approach.
Interesting. So basically it depends on how well you understand what the AI is designed to do. I see. So if an AI was upfront about its limitations, would that make it easier to trust?
100%.
Alright, so it sounds like transparency is key when it comes to building trust with AI. What do you think about AIs that can learn and adapt over time?
I mean, that's where we're supposed to go, right? So one thing, if I have questions about, let's say, some nature or just maybe some popular landscapes in the world, you'd be able to give me quick info and facts about that as well, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. Just try me. What kind of landscapes are you interested in?
Can you tell me how long Niagara Falls has been in operation? And is it true that the people that live there get free electricity because of the falls and hydroelectric water powering?
Niagara Falls themselves have been around for a really long time. We're talking thousands of years. But using them for power is a different story. The first hydroelectric power plant on the falls opened in 1895, so it's been around for a little over 100 years. And yes, it's true that people who live in the area sometimes get cheaper electricity rates because of the falls. Hydroelectricity is a clean source of power, and there's a lot of potential for more in the future.
So as you can see, any conversation that you have with Gemini gets logged and tracked in here, and then you're able to actually see all the questions that you asked and interact with it. If any of you are familiar with using Gemini yourselves, then you would be familiar with this kind of screen or looking at the chats. You can thumbs up questions or answers that the AI gives you and let you know how helpful it was. So, and provide feedback. Obviously, all of these things and probably any interactions that we have, even the one I probably had just now, probably goes into helping furthering the functionality and just the usability and usefulness of these AIs. There's all sorts of settings. I know that's one thing that I probably think is really good for us to talk about, because a lot of people do have concerns about the privacy and the data and the management of AI, but honestly, like, we live in this day and age. It's 2024, and all of our cell phones, we all kind of know what's going on with any of the devices that we have, and it's easy for any app, any social media, any platform to give you a huge list of privacy and guidelines and things that some people don't even take the time to want to read through or look through, understandably so, case by case. But there's actually a lot of privacy features and guidelines that are laid up front or easy to use when it comes to privacy, when it comes to Gemini's AI specifically. So you can easily just go to the settings, and I'm going to go ahead and say that it's felt natural, helpful, enjoyable. Go ahead and give it that feedback. But yeah, this button right here on the bottom right is the one that launches this kind of live conversation. I probably could go into looking at some of the settings for the voice, and I can show you what that looks like. But I will go to the privacy section first, because I was bringing that up. So I guess this is what the page looks like for starting one of these. But as you can see, Gemini Apps Activity or the Privacy Help Hub are a couple of quick links to managing your data with AI. So going here, you can actually click and specify how long access can be given to any of the data interactions you have with Gemini specifically. So all of Google's applications have this, no matter what part or tool of Google. So managing our privacy and our information is actually pretty easy to do. It's just taking that step of looking and clicking the right the right sections, you know. But if I really wanted to if I want to automatically delete my data, which I have set to 18 months, you could have it set to 36 months or 3 months, anything like that, or you could tell it not to delete. But this is just for, your own peace of mind of just how long you want to keep or retain the data that you use here by talking to them. I thought 18 months would be a good medium. Maybe 36 months is probably what I can use or might be more useful for me in the long run. Who knows? This is all new, so still thinking about those kind of things. So that's why I kind of set 18. But yeah, you can manage the things there. So we could also go back and take a look at so these are all the chats that I've had. Okay, let's do this since I need to reopen this. See there's different ways that you can set up your assistant or Gemini to appear on your phone. I have mine set to these little corners, so I just have to swipe from the corner, and that brings this back around and then to the middle, and then I could open up the full thing here. Go over here to my account. Gemini Advanced is just like the ChatGPT subscription. If you would like advanced features and storage options, but most of us probably will not need to use that. If you go here, you can see a list of all of the updates, the update notes. If we look at the Privacy Hub, it lets you know all of the different things and aspects of what Gemini and Google is doing with the data. I think up front and early on, especially in the early adoption phase, we can expect a lot of the AIs to be using the data to improve the AI itself, which is kind of how AI works in the first place. So it would make sense that that's what's being used there and the reasons why. So if you go down to the settings, you can actually change the voices here, but you can also do a lot of other cool things from within the chats. And as you can see, this is where the Google Assistant integration with Gemini is, and having that turned on allows you to just talk to Gemini as if you were talking to Google Assistant, which naturally anyone of us probably using it wanted to do the same things as Google Assistant anyway, if we're going to replace it as the voice assistant for the phone.
I'm ready to be your voice. If you like what you hear, choose me to start talking.
These are the voice selections, and there's a decent amount of them, which I think is pretty nice to have offered for the live chat. And just in general, when Gemini talks to you from the regular chats, it will also respond in these voices.
Feel free to keep exploring until you find the perfect voice. You can always change voices later. I'll be here whenever you're ready to talk.
So yeah, they put a decent amount of little personality to each of these little voices as you're switching to kind of like preview them.
If you're curious about the other voices, swipe to explore or pick me to start talking.
It's good to meet you. Give me a chance. Or check out the other options.
Maybe I'm your style. Pick me and I can be the voice you hear.
It's good to meet you. Give me a chance. Or check out.
So getting into some of the features and the things that Gemini is able to do is you can send off your results as a link and being able to share those with people seamlessly, which I think is really powerful and an underrated feature of talking to these AIs. This is something that I use with my friends if I'm researching travel plans or wanting to find out about certain areas, and being able to ask a lot of those questions back to back and being able to layer that out in a way that is structured and informational to whoever I want to share that with. So if I say, let me plan a trip to, let's say I'm trying to go to San Francisco Las Vegas, anywhere. We could really just say Miami. So I could ask, can you help me plan a trip to Miami for the weekend?
Planning your weekend.
Can you give me some good hotel suggestions?
Sure. Here are some hotel options for your Miami weekend getaway, ranging from budget-friendly to luxurious. Comfort Inn and Suites, downtown Brickellport of Miami. Unassuming hotel featuring complimentary breakfast and Wi-Fi, plus an outdoor pool. Price, $66 per night. The Palms Hotel and Spa, chic oceanfront option with a spa. A farm-to-table.
When are the best times of year to travel to Miami?
The best times to visit Miami are spring, March to May. Enjoy pleasant weather with comfortable temperatures and fewer crowds. This is a great time for outdoor activities and exploring the city. Fall, September to November. Experience warm weather with lower humidity and fewer tourists compared to peak season. This is a good time for beach activities and cultural events.
So I can always hit the pause button if I want to hear, or if I don't want to hear Gemini talk anymore. And I can also click this to look at a bunch of different options. You can export your results straight to Google Docs. You can create a public link, which this is the way that I would share it with my friends. Or you can you can create a draft email to send using Gmail. You can also modify the response or look at the other drafts that were generated from...
The best times to visit Miami are spring, March to May.
Which is pretty cool to
Enjoy
see.
pleasant weather with...
So if you hit the share button, this usually just gives you the option of sharing that specific search result, copying and pasting it with the copy and paste symbol here. But in selecting the text will allow you to select bits of it if you want to copy bits of it, let's say. But let's say we want to create a public link. You have the choices and options of using the entire, just this prompt and this response. So just this question and then the response that was given. Or if you choose the entire chat, this is how you would share your entire chat with your friends or someone. And you can generate different headlines. Let's say you don't like this generic one that comes up, which is the name of the chat. Depending on what you're talking about or the name of the chat, this could be a lot different. Or you could just edit it yourself and rename it to whatever you want. This will show up for when people use this link that you create. So you could just create the link and then you'll be able to paste it and be able to share it directly for people to access the entire chat, which is really useful and handy when wanting to share things like this and share structured information really quickly. But yeah, I think the Gemini AI has been coming a long way, so it's been good to see and cool to see all of the different changes and updates that's been made over the time. So yeah, that's all I have for this video, but thanks for popping in and hanging with me. But yeah, that's all I had on this topic and just wanted to share with you guys. I just thought this was kind of cool. What do you guys think of AI, Gemini specifically, and where things are going and how fast they're going? Are they going in a good direction? And do you see yourself using AI a lot more in your day-to-day life? And do you see yourself using AI a lot more in your day-to-day? I'm curious. We can talk about it down in the comments below and let me know what you guys think. And if there's something you think AI should be able to do that it's not doing yet, I'd be curious to see what you guys think about that as well. But until next time, I'll holler at you guys then.